I wanted to make a video here about what I feel is one of the most important and maybe also misunderstood or maybe never talked about concepts in dentistry, which is basically the ability of us to make money in private practice. So I wanted to talk about some metrics and some financial concerns that we're all up against. And this is really not something that I came up with. It's more of what I've observed. And unfortunately, some dentists don't end up understanding this concept, and then they get frustrated with dentistry because they're just simply not able to make any money. So I came up with this concept of making friends and solving problems quite a while back, but the more I talked about it, the more it made sense to myself, and it's just been something that is stuck, and it's really something that has become more and more important in judging of myself and also judging other dentists and their ability to stay in private practice, to become successful, and to really make the money that they had always hoped that they could make so that they can pay for their student loans and whatnot. So, making friends and solving problems. It really is a formula that is very, very profound. And when I say it's a formula, it really is because there's two parts of it. There's the making friends portion of the formula, and then there's also solving problems. And the addition of those two factors equals practice success. So when I say making friends, what am I talking about? We all know those people, and I don't think that anyone is perfect. Some people have a little bit better characteristics on listed here. Some of them are strong in one and weaker in the other. But we all know those dentists or people in general who have a super magnetic personality, where people really like to be around them. um, why they have interesting lives. They really talk to people at their level. They understand people. They make people laugh, and they're just that magnetic personality. I think another portion of making friends is someone who is super friendly, goes out of their way to help people, that really tries to connect, and maybe they're not that super over the top magnetic personality, but you can instantly see that they're making connections with people, and they're really trying as hard as possible to do what they can to make an emotional connection with people. Another portion of making friends is availability. If you have a friend that super magnetic personality, you give them a call, but they're never available. Again, they're not going to be that longer term friend. And in the dental world, that's why we really try to expand our hours so that we can be available to our patients at all times. So, think about each one of these characteristics as deeply as possible, and you'll understand that they have quite a profound meaning. Obviously, someone who is kind, who is empathetic, we're pushing people through procedures that are not always the funnest in the world. And so, if we can understand and be empathetic, especially during the procedures, that really emotionally helps people as far as them liking us and them wanting to come back. Follow up is also super important. If we're the nicest person and then we do a harder extraction and we never follow up with the person versus us following up to see how they're doing the night of or even a month later, that really goes a long way in showing people how much we really care for them. Okay. The other thing too, I would say, is getting along with staff. Our making friends is not only with our patients, but with everyone around us. Are we someone who is super hard to get along with? Are we someone who people don't like to be around? So making friends with our staff really, the patients will pick that up and be like, oh, is this someone who I can trust? If the staff likes this particular doctor, then it's probably basically my gatekeeper to understanding, is this doctor someone who I can trust? So all of those particular characteristics are really part of this making friends. Now we know that there's some people that are not this way, and unfortunately, no matter how good they are at solving problems, or in our case, having great clinical outcomes, um, they just will never they'll never create enough friends to be able to solve their problems. So they're always struggling to find work. Even though they're really good at it, they're so abrasive that people just don't want to come back. Okay. So then we have this solving problems portion of the equation. And that is really creating positive clinical outcomes, okay? Making sure that our dentistry is as good as it possibly can be. I think it's a as you mature in your clinical experience, you understand what a harsh environment we work in, the oral cavity, and to have long-term positive clinical outcomes is very, very hard. And even the most excellent dentistry that we do, it sometimes just doesn't last. And so, to have positive clinical outcomes, we just need to work on our clinical dentistry as much as possible to make it so that it solves people's problems, gets them out of pain, uh, allows them to function, to eat without things essentially falling apart. Part of solving problems is not hurting people. If we're hurting people to get that particular tooth out or to do that root canal, no matter how nice we are, they still won't come back because we're really needing to do our procedures in as little pain as possible. Okay. Not making problems. Again, I think that some dentists are their clinical dentistry is so poor that they actually make problems for the patients. If you watch our lessons learned portion of our training module, you'll see that there's a lot of issues that really we weren't helping people. We might have been either, you know, doing something that wasn't going to last or that actually made it worse. Again, no matter how nice you are to people, if they find out that your clinical dentistry, let's say that a filling keeps on coming out, you are not going to be able to keep that patient no matter how nice you are. So I think the other thing too is not hunting for things that don't bother patients. Through my interviews with patients, I always ask them, so, especially when they mention that they were at another practice. So what can we do that the other uh, dentist did not do? And this comes up very, very frequently. Oh, so this other dentist wanted to do a ton of things, and none of these things are hurting me, so why do I want to do that? I think that that is really a major point is that you need to be on the same page with patients and allow them to dictate what their chief complaints are to you, okay? And really to come up with treatment plans together with the patient as far as what you both want to do. If that's leaving a tooth in their head that has infection, as long as they understand that you do not love it and you want it out as soon as possible, but if there's a small amount of infection, you don't know if it was bigger in the past and if it's shrinking, or if a tooth is slightly mobile and yeah, it's not in the perfect shape, but maybe we can get some more years out of it. Those are the types of things that get patients to understand that, yes, we're not going to go in there and just tear everything out of your mouth. We're going to work with you and write out things that you want to write out within a certain limit. And also, the bigger thing is are what's better for the patients to push them into clinical dentistry, things that you believe is super important to you, yet you lose the relationship and they never come back to the dentist? Or is it more important to create a relationship with them so you can chip at some of the issues slowly? Again, I would say any patient that becomes a comprehensive patient and works on things slowly is in a much better position versus you doing a bunch of dentistry and then they never come back because you've broken that relationship of trust. So not hunting for things that don't bother patients, super important thing. Now, the combination of those two things, being able to make friends and being able to solve their problems, is practice success. Okay, so how do we measure our success in making friends and solving problems? And this is a little bit of a harder concept for newer dentists to understand. But really, we measure success on total office production per new patient per month. Okay. So if we think about that, what does total office production per new patient per month? What that measures is our ability to attract patients and to keep them and to essentially have them ask us to do dentistry in their mouth. Okay. So, really, if we think about that, that's a super important metric because it measures everything right from the beginning, which is, are we able to attract people into our practice? Are we making friends? And then are we able to keep them in our practice? Meaning, are we able to solve their problems? And it also kind of measures, are the patients willing to let us help them? Or are they simply just walking in and then walking out and never coming back? Okay. So this metric is super important. And I'm actually going to put this portion up here. But what are in this? Okay, so total office production per new patient per month. Okay, and we can write it like this. So total office production divided by the number of new patients that we see per month. Okay, so the numerator includes um, all um, all recall patients, all in-office specialists, and all new patient care, or it will essentially all patient care. Okay, so any production that happens in the office, whether it's by you, your hygienist, your specialist, it all counts to this total office production. Okay, so so I'll go ahead and write that down. Okay, so any production that happens in your office goes up to here. Okay, what does the denominator include? Okay, it includes all patients who have scheduled, regardless if they've shown up or not. So some dentists are like, well, if we took out all of the patients who didn't show up, my production per new patient per month would be higher. Well, that doesn't really address your availability. Okay. So if you are in a situation where your office is getting a lot of calls for new patients and they aren't offering same day visits, those patients aren't going to show up. So if you're not available, you're essentially penalized by not getting those patients because your new patient numbers will look higher um, than actually the number of patients to show up. So we like to include all of the patients who have scheduled, even if they don't show up or not, okay? Now, this number sometimes is misunderstood that we are trying to find dentistry on every single person that comes in, and we're trying to produce a certain amount per new patient. And that is completely false. What I'm saying here is that if you create comprehensive care, your production per new patient will be um, over your break even point. Okay. So let me just put a couple of other concepts here. Okay. Which is your break even per new patient is around 500. Okay. So many new doctors are like, oh, um, they have no idea where they stand. And unfortunately, we have some doctors that can produce, or they start out producing $300 to $400 per new patient per month. Okay. If you think about that, you're never going to make money. In fact, it's a losing proposition for uh, either you or your owner doctor to stay in private practice because you're essentially either burning through new patients or you're simply not able to make enough money to survive. You unfortunately have a problem in making friends and solving problems. Okay. Um, we have a goal of $1,000 per new patient per month. Okay. Uh, in an instance where you are able to gain 50 new patients, okay, and you're able to produce $1,000 per new patient, you will have revenue of 50,000 per month. Okay. And if we take our break even of 25,000 per month, you will be able to have an income of around 25,000 per month. Okay. And unfortunately, a lot of doctors don't track this metric for themselves. And they're just like, no, I think I'm doing fine. You need to track this number every single month from your beginning of your practice until you reach the goal of $1,000 per new patient per month. Now, how are you able to reach that goal? I'm going to explain down here below, but it's not over treatment planning. It's not going out and looking for things that you are making up. Okay. Again, solving problems is not hunting for things that don't bother patients. Okay. It's also not making up things. Okay. Or making problems. Okay. So I wanted to just go over my most recent month here. Okay. Where I would encourage you to look at a lot of the instructions that I've given throughout these videos, but you can probably see that I'm very conservative and I like to help the patients both financially and also not push them clinically through things that they might not agree with or they don't want to do. Okay. So my most recent month, which was February of 2022, I had a production of $268,648.60 in my office. Okay. And in my office, we had 140 new patients. So if we take the formula here of total office production divided by new patients per month, you can see that I produced $1,918.92 per new patient. Okay. So I'm going to go through the skills that I feel are necessary to come up with this. Now, the biggest asset that I feel that any dentist has is their ability to make friends and solve problems. And so I like to measure this every single month because if a doctor is only producing $500 per new patient per month, unfortunately, wherever they go, I don't care if it's in the United States of America, if it's Mexico, Brazil, Russia, China, they will have that same ability to make friends and solve problems. Now, if they have the ability to produce $1,900, that same skill of making friends and solving problems is translated to everywhere. Everywhere in the world needs people who can make friends and solve problems. So, really, you need to measure your most important asset. And I'm going to write this down. Most important, which is making friends and solving their problems. And so you need to measure your asset every single month. Figure out how much you are producing per new patient per month, okay? So the following is found in the opportunity manual, but it's really a list of all the skills that I feel, and I've tried to be as uh, accurate as possible by taking data from my own production and translating it into these particular skills. Okay. Now, new dentists sometimes they're kind of picking and choosing some of these skills that they want to do. Maybe they don't want to do root canals, so that's fine. If you don't want to do root canals, just understand that you are reducing some of your asset. Okay, your most valuable asset is being reduced permanently because you're not willing to do that particular thing. Okay, so I have basically I have a way that we can get to our goal. In fact, if you look at our goal, I'm trying to make it as accurate as possible to my own production per new patient per month. Okay, and these are really the skills that I feel add up to what I do. Okay. Um, so here's the skill. Here's what I put as the value on that skill. And then I also put ways that it's taken away or ways that the doctor doesn't allow themselves to have that particular skill. Okay. So first skill here is offering same day dentistry to every single patient. Okay. Now, when I say every single patient, when you walk into an emergency or into a comprehensive exam, and you have 3 root canals going on, and and you say, you know what, it'd be awesome if I could do it right now, but I have some other things going on. Can you come back another day? That is not same day dentistry. Okay, that is not allowing the patients to choose when they want to get stuff done. You need to offer and be excited about offering everyone whatever they want to do. If you have 2 root canals coming in and a patient comes in and wants 10 extractions, you basically say, so yeah, so we've got some extractions that we need to get done. When did you want to get them done? Is that something you wanted to get done today? And when the patient says yes, you're not like stressed about it. You're simply excited that they are willing to get that done. Okay. Offering same day dentistry is super important. The value I feel that it places on yourself is $300 added to that production per new patient per month. Okay. So, how is it taken away from us? Okay. If you are understaffed, a lot of times you get so stressed out that you don't offer same day dentistry. Okay. Another way that that can be taken away from you is if you don't have mentors that have shown you how to run multiple operatories, or you haven't seen it happen. or you in your mind have only come out of dental school and believe that nothing can happen simultaneously. Okay. So you need to be able to get in front of doctors who are running into situations like this. I love it when doctors are watching me, and what they'll do is they'll see that I run into a situation where there's four patients that walk in all at the same time, usually at 5 o'clock at the rush hour. And then I've had it occasionally where the doctor's like, Dr. Stott, did you want to help me? Or did you want me to help you? And I'm like, absolutely not. What I want you to do is watch me and figure out how I'm going to manage all four of these simultaneous patients. Okay. That's the bigger skill. Now, the thing that really I think that doctors don't look for is the very small details. How am I wrapping up conversations? How am I doing every single hand motion so that it's absolutely perfect, so I'm not wasting any clinical efficiency? How am I being organized in the way that I do things so that everyone knows what they're doing? So the assistants, I don't have to go in and talk to the assistants on what they should do. Being super consistent. I think there's a ton of small little details that we talk about that add up to being able to be efficient and be confident in seeing four patients that show up simultaneously, all wanting same day dentistry and all wanting bigger procedures. Okay. Another way that it can happen is if you don't have a scheduling system. Okay. If you're just kind of happenstance, yeah, throw it on there, throw it on there, what's going to end up happening is you're going to run into situations where you're going to be sitting around for 2 hours, and then all of a sudden, four patients will show up. Since you or your staff aren't used to seeing four patients, you're going to reschedule all of them, and then in an hour, there's going to be nothing to do. So you need to be super on top of and very particular with your staff about being on top of the scheduling system and adhering to it religiously. Okay. Extractions. Okay. Extractions. A lot of new dentists get out and are like, I love surgery. I love surgical extractions. Honestly, extractions are not worth as much as you would think. I think there's a lot of other type of, I would say, softer skills that are more important than extractions. So I would put, the value of extractions at maybe $100 per new patient per month. Okay. Some offices require the general practitioner to send all extractions out. Maybe they ran into a problem at some point and they just got scared, or maybe it's an office policy that we need to get everything to the specialist. I think that puts you at a disadvantage because you're not able to get patients out of pain. So being able to do extractions is super important. Okay. Value of $100 per new patient per month. Okay. Same thing with surgical extractions. Okay. Sometimes you lack mentors, you lack instruments, or it's discouraged because maybe your mentor doctor or your office ran into issues where they couldn't get a tooth out, and because they didn't have in-office specialists or mentors, they just came up with the system to say, hey, we're not doing surgical extractions here. Again, probably $100 per new patient per month. Okay, so I mean, you could probably run an office that doesn't do either of those. But I think that these are gateway procedures that if you do a really good job, gives patients confidence in your ability to solve problems. Okay. If you're not able to do extractions or surgical extractions, your ability to gain the confidence of your patients is severely hindered. I would add the same thing with root canals. These three here, if you're not able to do extractions, surgical extractions, and root canals, you're going to lose a lot of confidence from your patients. And so they are just not going to feel like you are someone that has a lot of experience. Okay. So those three each are $100 per new patient per month. Some practices even discourage you from doing root canals. Some practices do not even have root canal instruments. Um, so that's super important that you have the instruments and are able to confidently do root canals, including molars. I think that most patients who are coming into the doctor for the first time have pain and are looking to get out of pain. If you can do root canals, that's a huge gateway into them referring their friends. Okay. So another one is creating comprehensive patients and rescheduling. This one is worth more than, or it's worth equal to doing extractions, surgical extractions, and root canals. So important. If you don't have a mechanism to reactivate emergencies or recall emergencies and get them back on track to be doing prophies or to do same day prophies in addition to the emergency that they came in for, you will always be losing patients out of the back end of your practice. It is so important also that when you come up with your game plan with your patients, that you are on the same page and that they accept the treatment that you both came up with. I think that one of the big killers of this is treatment plan coordinators that are trying to sell dentistry, that are trying to push patients financially into situations where they don't want to go. And then they just end up rescheduling but never come back. Okay. So your ability to come up with game plans that are both clinically on the same page and financially on the same page with patients is super important. Okay. Lack of systems. If you don't have a way for you and all of your staff to recognize when patients are falling off of the bandwagon or basically not coming back in for their recall, patients will simply just come in, come out. And I see this all the time when a patient comes in for an emergency. Let's say that they needed some fillings, okay? And the next appointment that is scheduled is fillings. That is really, I feel, cherry picking. You really should think about the comprehensive patient first. And the most important uh, appointment that you should be scheduling after your initial emergency appointment is the hygiene visit. The hygiene visit is super important because you are getting them into being comprehensive patients. Maybe you're not going to do all those fillings right at once. In fact, what is the value longer term on that if we're really talking about monetary portions here? The patient over their life is going to give you tens of thousands of dollars. Why would you jeopardize that, or why would you not be more excited about them coming back longer term versus the cavity filling that may give you 200 or 300 bucks? Okay. Bad patient management system. Okay. If you are not super on top of identifying and recognizing and offering that prophy that same day, you're just always fighting to get as many new patients as possible instead of concentrating on the patients that have already been in your office. What is easier, finding a new patient or getting a patient that's already been into your office to just come back? It's always the recall patient that's easier, okay? And then I would say this, that if you are a dentist who bounces around from office to office, okay, and you never spend more than a year or two, you're never creating relationships to create comprehensive patients, okay? So you need to spend enough time in your practice in order to create those comprehensive patients, okay? Referring to in-office specialist, okay, I think that that's worth maybe $100 per new patient per month. That's for those wisdom teeth, potentially for orthodontics. Um, what would take that away? If you're in a smaller private practice, there's no way that you have enough patient flow in order to have an oral surgeon come in, or an orthodontist. So the ability to have in-office specialists is worth $100 per new patient per month. Okay. We already talked about root canals. Again, a gateway into um, a gateway into getting patients to have confidence in you. Super important. Okay. And then we're going to talk about some of these softer skills, okay? Now, if you look at this, look at how much these softer skills add up to versus actually being able to do procedures, okay? Doing procedures, especially same day, is important, but these softer skills add up to be almost more important than this, which is really kind of what we talked about. This is equal making friends, solving problems. Is the clinical more important than making friends? No. Is the clinical more than um, the administration? No way. Okay. So, confidence. This is so, so important. I can't tell you how many times a patient comes in to a new doctor, and let's say that there's a more experienced doctor and a less experienced doctor, and the patient has been in with the more experienced doctor, and then sees the newer doctor on an emergency, and then requests to be seen by the more experienced doctor. Why? Uh, why is confidence so important? Because all patients are scared of being treated by someone who doesn't know what they're doing. Okay. All patients will never come back to someone who's a little bit fidgety, who doesn't sound like they've done this procedure many times. So a lot of doctors, unfortunately, if all they do is fillings, they never get enough experience or mentorship to get the confidence to be able to get through that. Now, sometimes, we're all coming out of dental school and we haven't done enough procedures, but we have given you the verbiage in order to sound confident before you actually are. I just relayed an experience. I went up to a brand new doctor, and he was walking into his first root canal. And so he's talking to the patient. And he's like, "Hey, so we've got an infected nerve. We're going to have to go ahead and get that infected nerve out. It's a pretty easy procedure, kind of like a bigger cavity filling." And then he comes out, and then the patient's like, "Yeah, let's go ahead and get it done." He gets the patient numb, comes out, and I'm like, "Holy cow, you sounded amazing there." Um, and he's like, "Oh my goodness, I am shaking in my boots. I am doing my first root canal out of dental school. I have no idea how this is going to go." But he sounded confident. Why? Because he's practiced the verbiage on what to say. And then he gets through his first root canal, and yes, he probably two-stepped it. He probably spent 3 hours, but guess what? The next time he's going to cut that by 15 minutes, and once he's through 20 root canals, his verbiage matches his clinical confidence. Confidence is so, so important. Okay. Having fun at the office. I think this might be kind of one and the same, but if you look like you are stressed out, um, no one wants to stay around an office that has a bad vibe. So your ability to make light or joke around with your staff at appropriate times is super important. Now, that doesn't mean that you're having so much fun that the patient is feeling like you're a goof off and you're not concentrating on the procedure. But at appropriate times to break the ice, it is super important to have fun at the office. One of the doctors uh, says basically you should be laughing with your patients and with your staff all day long. That is success. And I totally agree. So if you're too stressed, or if you're trying to be the boss and bossing people around, your patients will feel the tense situation inside of your office. And if you don't create relationships with your staff, if you aren't there to help them when they need it, or to be a mentor to them, or to have a positive attitude, you will not be able to get the confidence of your assistants and your staff. How much dialogue happens between our patients and our staff? So much. And if they say behind the scenes, "Hey, is this doctor really that good?" Trust me, even if they say the words but don't have that relationship with you, they will not, the patient will pick that up and will essentially not want to get procedures done. Okay. Being extremely organized. I can't emphasize how much this means. There are so many doctors out there that have no system, that do one-offs on everything, that sometimes do it this way, sometimes do it the other way. Sometimes they expect their staff to do it one way, sometimes they expect their staff to do it the other way, and it becomes unmanageable. And what happens is that staff doesn't want to stick around, especially females want to be in an organized system, in an organized office. And because our staffs are usually made up of a majority of females, if you aren't extremely organized, they're going to pick up on that and they're just going to bail. And then the patients are going to pick that up that the office doesn't look good. No one is really knowing what their functions are. The other thing too is um, if you aren't organized, you're going to find out very, very quickly that you will never be able to run at a speed that allows you to be profitable. Okay, so you could be doing the greatest root canals in the world, but if you can only do one in the morning and one in the afternoon, you're just never going to be able to make enough money to survive. And this is one of the biggest ones that I think that doctors need to work on straight out of dental school is becoming super organized. What takes that away? Doctors who want to only do the minimum. Okay. Yeah, assistant. Yeah, to go ahead and do it that way this time. Or you know what? I don't want to do that. I know the assistant can do it. Although it's my function. Let's just have the assistant do it because I'm kind of busy. Um, the doctor also thinks, yeah, that filling, it's fine. I know it has an open margin, or that crown doesn't really matter. If your attitude is that, you are going to have a very, very hard time making it in private practice. Okay, if you like to do one-offs, if you're making your assistants do it one way one time, the other way the other time, or there's really no systematic way of doing everything, and if you can't explain the why behind everything that you're doing, uh, it really just becomes a bunch of one-offs, and the staff gets super upset. The patients don't know what are going on, and so this will really, really kill your practice. Okay. Final thing here is being on top of your accounts receivable. If you do not essentially live in your electronic repository and check their benefits and just basically be on top of your front office staff on making sure that benefits are correct and that payments are being paid, you are not going to be able to collect what you need to. Okay. You could produce as much as you want, but always the easiest money to make is the money that you've always already produced, or to not start procedures that you're not going to get paid for. Again, imagine that scenario where 4 patients show up at once and 3 of them are willing to pay and one of them isn't willing to pay. What would happen if you sacrifice the time on those 3 patients to go help that 4th patient that's not willing to pay? Again, it's a super important concept to understand that everyone deserves our equal respect, but not everyone deserves our equal time. Patients that are paying deserve more of our time than patients that are not paying. Okay. So you need to be super on top of that. Okay. I think that treatment plan coordinators can kill some of that because they're selling dentistry. Office managers sometimes kill that because, if they just create another layer of bureaucracy. Um, and if we don't have systems, a lot of times what happens is we want to bring in these other type of people to take this off of our plate. But in reality, the real problem is we just are not following through with systems that help us to collect, and we're not doing our portion to collect. Okay, so again, all of those skills, if you add all of those up, add up to what I feel is a very robust asset, which is 1900 per new patient per month, which is what I feel here. Now, obviously, a new dentist probably isn't perfect in all of these. Maybe we're offering same day dentistry half the time, so maybe that this is worth $150. Not doing, maybe they're doing extractions some of the time, so it's $75. They're not good at surgical extractions yet. They haven't figured out how important the administration portion of it and reactivating patients, and they don't have a system together. They don't really expect their assistants to reschedule the recalls before they come in for their cleaning. So, maybe this is worth zero. Um, they haven't created enough office flow to refer to in-office specialists. They're not good at root canals yet. They're okay with confidence. They aren't having fun at the office yet. They're not super extremely organized. And so this all adds up to, $500 per new patient per month, which honestly, coming out of dental school, you're probably doing better than if you were in dental school. I bet you your dental school skills were probably around $200 to $300 per new patient per month. Guess what? That's okay for dental school. In private practice, it just doesn't work. So you really have to work on what it takes to get up to at least 1,000. But understand, there's dentists out there who do 1,900. There's dentists out there that do 2,000 to 3,000 or 4,000. So you need to work on your skill to get this up. And you can see here, there's no portion of this that is over treatment planning. All of this is just being super organized and following systems. Okay. Now there's some other skills that I feel that dental school students come out and they think this is really what I want to do. Okay, I really want to place implants. The issue that I feel with implants is, yes, it has value, but it's not as valuable as these other things. Okay, so definitely you can add in implants to, as an additional portion of this scale, and maybe you want to do implants instead of doing root canals. Great. I don't think that it's is a value is as valuable to doctors as they think. Okay, if you look at this, okay, I did not place a single implant on this month. I referred all of those implants to in-office specialists. So, and I'm not discouraging you to do implants, but I'm just trying to put a real value on what it is to place implants. I would say the same thing with ortho or Invisalign. Okay, it adds a certain amount to your practice, but it's not that much, especially given the number of appointments that you need. Again, it adds about $100 per new patient per month. Okay, so here's another skill that a lot of new dentists think, hey, this is a skill that I want to learn, and I think I'm really good at it. Again, uh, I think that as a lot of doctors mature in their practice or in their clinical career, they kind of tend to shy away from this stuff because they understand the clinical complexities, the stress, and a lot of times people are like, well, do I really want to work on impacted wisdom teeth removal, or do I want to work on having more fun at the office? And 9 times out of 10, they're going to want to work on having more fun at the office or being extremely organized, which is worth more than impacted wisdom teeth. Again, I am not discouraging impacted wisdom teeth removal. In fact, I would definitely encourage people to look at doing that. But I would say look at acquiring those skills through additional CE credits or mentoring after you've obtained all of these other skills. And really, after you've measured yourself that you're able to get to, at least $1,000 per new patient per month, then start adding in some of these skills. But really, try working on these skills to get up to here and then adding those skills. Okay. Again, during this month, okay, did not take out a single partial bony or full bony wisdom tooth. Okay. So, um, Again, I feel like this concept is super misunderstood. That we're looking that we people have the misperception that we're trying to make money off of every patient that walks in the door and trying to make $1,000 off of them. Totally not the case. But what you'll see is that as you make friends and solve problems, this production per new patient per month just goes up naturally. Okay, so work on all of these skills. Okay, be extremely self-critical. Um, Try to figure out where you stand on each one of these skills, and be consistent in measuring yourself, so that you can see where you are. Are you break even? Are you making money? Are you extremely profitable? Because if you want to move to another practice or move to another state, this is the metric that you need to know. Okay, if you're moving to a practice and they have 40 new patients a month, hey, are you going to, and let's say that you're making 800, let's say $700 per new patient per month. Well, your revenue is going to be about 28,000. And if you know that your break even is 25, you're not going to have enough money to make anything. But if you are getting into a practice that is going to give you 50 new patients per month and you have a production per new patient per month of 1,500, hey, I can make 75,000 and I can take home 50,000. Okay. So again, review this information. All of this information is in the opportunity manual, and uh, be really, really on top of charting this month by month, and you will find out how great it is to know this information so that you can make better decisions on how to improve your own skills.